Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jansen Art Studio. Let's paint some roses today, following along with our Mastering Roses series, some of the techniques and stuff that we use in those books and in that series. I'm going to paint a couple of roses and a rosebud up there today. I'm going to show you some casual applications of color, and we're going to use a couple of newer pigments that I don't use very often, but I've promised a lot of you that we will be introducing some pigments, and so we're going to use the quinacridone violet and some diox purple, and we're going to make some oranges and some blues and use those colors as nice cools to that. Let's get into this and show it. So I have a 14 by 11 by 14 wood panel. This is the one I normally use on the MDF Super MDF panels, and I've given it a coat of light gray, which some of you seen in other videos. It's just a little bit of white, a little yellow oxide, and a touch of black. Or you can take some medium white from our premix line and add an equal amount of light gray from the premix line to that, and you get the color exactly that I'm using. So let's go about this. I'm going to use my 3/4 inch. I'm going to use Fusion flats today. 3/4 inch brush here to do most of my background along with a painting knife. So let's get into this. I'm going to start out first by, I always like to start out with some of my blues that I might want to have up into the corners. And let's make a blue, and let's cool that blue just a little bit, maybe a little bit of our tiny bit of our quinacridone violet right into that. Cool that off just a touch here. Kind of a light purpley kind of color here. And I hit a nice spot of blue right there, so that got a little bit extreme. So we'll go right through that. I'll show you here in just a second. We're going to work right through that here. Okay, and I've sketched on a pattern here, and that's just to always give myself, I don't always do that, and you see me do a lot of freehand painting. Sometimes I'll sketch on a pattern like that, and then I don't follow it at all. Sometimes I sketch it on, and it gives me just an idea about what to do with the flowers and the setups, and then I'll change it as I'm painting to reflect what it is that I'm feeling at that particular time. So, but if you want to watch it, so you can do this and just wipe your background back a little bit, and you can see exactly your pattern still, so you don't have to worry about that and drag it through some white paint like I did there. You know, I said I was going to be casual, and I guess I've started out really casual today. So we'll put a little bit down here. Let's take a little, now I want an orangey kind of flower, so maybe some burnt sienna and just a touch of blue into that. We'll just gray that a little bit more. Touch of that phthalo blue into that. And I wanted some burnt sienna. We're going to have some orange flowers. So maybe down through here and up and through the back here, I put a little bit of this burnt sienna, which is just a nice casual toned orange color. And I'll just drop this back through here. And that will work into that. And then I love to put in some pine green. We'll go right around the base of that flower a little bit. Some pine green right with that that color, and this sets up a nice movement. Let's step back just a bit. Sets up a nice movement here for my grounds and what I have going on in the rest of the painting. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take some of these colors and I'll take them on my knife and stuff, and I told you we'd show you some fun backgrounds and stuff too. So what I've been doing on a lot of paintings this last year, and working some of these colors in this way, instead of working them with a knife, I work my colors in and apply them in lines and stuff with the brush this way. And that just gives a different look to it. Lighten some of this up. We'll lighten and gray some of this. I want to get some of these colors a little lighter up there into the top, but I want to have some of this movement right down in through here, just like it's like a background. Think of it just like these are, back. I got a little rocking noise there to my easel here. This is a back of a bushes and stuff, so you're seeing back through the background and stuff. So I might want to take some more light color because I want to keep that light. We'll push this right up out of the way there, like that. Push that light. Let's put a little bit of that blue, which we wanted, and a little bit of that quinacridone right up here. But I want to keep this very light, and even towards the purpley side there, just a bit is okay. And I want to start dragging this through. And this is how I create those really interesting backgrounds is I take some of these colors, and I like to play what I call sparks of light, and playing warms against cools and stuff like that. Let's lighten that up a bit, and let's just spark that right in here with some of that light, and let that come right down here like that, and just pull that down. I use that knife very flat if I want, and I call it burnishing down like this if I want to just kind of smooth it out a little bit, not blend it. See, you can see the colors are just, coming together through there. I'm not blending them together. I'm just dragging them ever so lightly through the painting there. Let's put a little bit of that over here, so some of that can carry through right here like that. Maybe drop down that side like that. And it just looks really nice that way. See, it just fractures up that background. And that's what I like to add. It adds these little sparks and fracturing through the background like that. And we'll drop something right in here. Just a little light up there in that corner. That's nice. Now, what you can do is you can say, okay, here comes this. There was another petal right out over here. And we'll start to back out a bit of our rose that was here. Okay, we had that one there. So we can see right where that rose was. I did have a couple of leaves over here. That's not all that important. I did have one right here and one right here. And then I had another flower right back up over here that I'm going to paint behind it and down. So we'll just wipe that back just a bit. I like to drag some of the color from my background right into those flowers, and that again keeps it kind of soft there. And let's put that turned back one right back in there. So that gives me an idea where my flowers are going to be. Now, I'll set that knife aside for a second. Let's grab ourselves like an 8 or a 10 here. Let's grab some nice, cool quinacridone violet color. Let's drop that right into the center of our flower here. Look at how that plays against those blues. That nice, cool color. That'll be really, really pretty against the warm orange that we'll be adding there as well. Let's gray that down, even a little bit of green here. Any of its complements, see, that's going to warm it and gray that. See, and since it slides slightly to the reddish side, any kind of green here will tone it down. See how that tones it and softens it? And let's just tone it and soften it here a bit and drop it into the center of this one. We're toning it slightly because we're thinking that this flower is going to be turned back. It's not up and towards the center of interest here. So we can tone it like we could probably add just a little bit of brighter in there. I like when I get those kind of colors going in there like that. Let's come back out here. We'll add a bit more of that. And we'll touch a few of these little colors out here into our flower itself. Just kind of drag that along so you get some feeling of that color going into the flower there. In a few other areas here. That's pretty good. And maybe a touch or two out in here where we have this. This is all going to be backside here though. Turn around. Now, let's go make a nice orange. I'm going to make a softer orange here first. I'm going to push this blue and stuff up out of the way here. I could use that to soften and gray down my orange color. Oranges are really reds and yellows here. Okay, and the Hansa yellow makes a really bright orange, and I'm not going to go that bright yet. So that's a bright orange. The yellow oxide in your brush will make a yellow oxide and red will make a softer orange. You can make that even softer. A little bit of your light blue sky color like this. See how that softens that orange? So we can soften that orange. We can get it's a little yellow, so we can get a little more red into that. And let's get a touch of white into that. Makes a nice, soft, kind of orangey color, which is what I want to use for some of the base of this flower here. Not super bright, but a real pretty kind of orange. Okay, let's kind of toss this into the shapes here of the rose petals that I want to use. I'm going to push this around a bit and get a little bit of modeling and color flowing around like that. Okay, some of that orange and violet mixing together there. Not mixing as much as just kind of incorporating. When we say incorporating together there. Let's gray that down, tone that down a little bit more so it's a little softer. That blue in there is perfect. And it's perfect because it's complements and it's also our background there. So see this orange here that's going into the back of this flower, back here will be softer than the orange that'll come up into the front. And that's always, when I did a lot of decorative painting, we would always base everything in with the same color. Well, then you don't get as much separation and things like that. And so what you think here is a flower that's going to the back, you add either the background to it or its complement and gray that intensity down. And it just makes such pretty little, it's an easy little thing to do. Just gray it like this. Doesn't have to be perfect, just gray it down. And look at how much softer and prettier these flowers are here. And we'll just drag a little bit of that through the background here. I like to always just, if I'm doing something, I like to drop it out into the background as well. So we'll just drop a few touches of that out into the background. We have another soft. Let's get a bit of our yellow oxide, orange, bit of our toned color here. Let's go right back up here where we were going to have this real soft little bud right up there. We'll put that one in. Okay. Now let's come back in and use our corner of our brush. Let's deepen our quinacridone right in here. Let's deepen that down a little bit more, going around there. That'll increase the contrast there. We might even touch into a little red violet here in a bit. We might, now with the Mastering Roses series, we always say you find the bowl and you shadow the lower side away from the light. So here's the lower side away from the light. We find the bowl, and I'll just put some shadow right down here in the lower side away from the light here, like this. Okay, and let's take that a little bit softer. You can even add a little orange to that, or a little of that burnt sienna, or a little green like we did on the last time. And see how that softens that back a little bit. The color is, the tone is a little more grayed. Let's soften this back one back here. Let's do the low side of this one here, right out here, so it stays soft. Maybe get a little bit of that green into there. Complements are so wonderful to work with, to gray stuff with. Let's get some of that out here for like the tips of these rose, what would be the rose petals right out there. So you see a little bit of them here. And we'll get some little bit of orange up here, right up there like that. So those fit. Okay, now let's get a corner of the red violet. Now this is darker and cooler yet than the quinacridone. So this will give us an ultimate kind of contrast that I'm looking for right there into the center. And we may have a few more little sparks of this quinacridone violet out here. So I'll go back to my violet here for a second. And we'll hit a few more little sparky areas there of that color, like that. And but nice, very deep red violet. Let's put a little bit of that in here for the bowl of the rose, pulling out like that. Okay, building that one up there. Let's get a touch of that. Now I didn't tone that down because I think I've got enough tone in there. And as I work that color into this, it'll gray down. So we'll find that lower shadow, find where that bowl would be there on that one. Okay, let's tap into a little bit of our red, our naphtha red light, and that quinacridone. That makes more of a reddish color here, a little bit warmer. Let's come out of that just a touch, just put some of that red in. And see, I'm tapping around in a circle here. This is, and I'm just going to tap the color, just be very casual, tap it around like this, and curve your brush and work your brush. You're working for petals, curving everything around. So curving around and around. Now you can take your finger and you can pull back like this, and put in some, and reveal the light orange that we just put in just a bit ago, just like that. Pop that up like that, and let's go back and set some deeper reds back in there as well. I will paint in and out like this, use my finger to lift color out. It's one of the things that, but I'm always working in the shapes of the roses and stuff that you see, okay? Always working in that. So I may put a petal or two coming out like this and curving in, which we might want to have, and this color just kind of tapping, maybe a little red, just kind of tapping around in there, working that around, okay? Now let's get some more of our orange, maybe a little bit brighter orange this time, so I'll grab some Hansa here and push that color there. Maybe a touch of white. Now that what it does is it'll lighten it, but it gives it more opacity too. Because Hansa's a beautiful color, but it's a semi-transparent color, which means it's not opaque. It's perfect for a lot of painting situations. But if I want to make it more opaque, shows up with more power on something like this, I just add a tiny bit of white. It'll make it lighter, but white is very opaque, and that will help you when you stroke this right here. It'll help this color set right up on top, just like that. And so we'll just kind of push this up like this is the front bowl of the rose here, coming up like that, okay? And we'll maybe tap in a little bit of our reds and quinacridone here and pull that shadow. Remember that lower shadow here, right up from the bottom like that. That's good. Now let's just edge the brush, so I'll just pick up right over here. I'll just push the brush up so I pick up a corner like this. And let's just edge that corner around, and we'll just kind of sneak in a petal or two here. Right here, just push up into that corner. And we'll push in the idea of a petal or two. Now the other way to do it, which I use both ways, is I'll come in and I'll strike a petal right across like that. I'll strike it pretty heavy like that. Push that petal in there like that. So I get that nice heaviness color, and then I'll put in some of my color that's underneath back into my brush, and I negative paint it out. And I did a whole volume, 3 I believe, in the Master in Rose series on what we call negative painting techniques. And I use them a lot in painting roses, so I will paint some things out of the way, okay? So let's take some of this yellow, light, and warm, and work that through our petals here. Alrighty, and we'll put a little bit of white with that, warm and light, and lighten this up. And let's come up here towards the front. We'll just kind of edge along. You can use the edge of that brush to kind of draw the petal along and just kind of pull that in like that. Okay. We're going to slowly build this a little bit more light and keep that kind of orange, but I model the color here, so it's always kind of changing a little bit here. And we'll add some of these little strokes here to this petal, just to these colors here, and I'll lift some of that out. Okay, now I'm going to come in a little bit closer here. So we're painting this, so you get a nice, big, huge blow up of this. Now I also, like everything, guys, I have this paper towel in my hand all the time, and I'm wiping off that excess. So I may lift off the color, then I'll wipe that off in the brush. If I don't wipe it off, I'll just take that light color right down to the low part there again. So I want to come back in there and maybe restate a shadow back like that, and pull that back up. Maybe use the corner of the brush to get a little modeling or a little movement there into that. Let's maybe pull out like this to curve these petals up to give the feeling that they're kind of curving up. Maybe this one kind of curves out like that here. Okay. So we'll just grab some and curve it out like that. There we go. And then use that little edge again to draw that little edge of that petal there like that. Grab that little edge of light color there. We'll just edge that petal right there. Now I'll take just a little bit of dark in my brush and just go over that just a touch so that you see the dark the darkness in there as well. And we'll get some different reds going on in there, like that. Okay, let's get that reddish orange up in here. So you get those colors coming. And by constantly varying those colors, you can see you can make some really pretty color notes here on the roses. There we go. And we'll pull in a bit here. We'll pull these. We'll hit a little bit of that blue, and boy, is that ever so pretty. I'm going to have to remember that, because I hit a little bit of that blue, and that's quite pretty. I'm going to have to make another special touch of those colors. Right in here, that is ever so pretty. So that's what I like about brush mixing. Sometimes you hit that, and you go, oh wow, that's right. That's a compliment. That would work there. Helps you remember it. Here. There we go. Now let's make some smaller little petal notes here. Coming maybe around here. And curving up and over and down. Here. Get some of that nice thick white. Edge that brush up there like that with a little bit of that. But see, the brush is very mottled. We'll just lightly set the pressure down and pull. We don't want to press too hard. We'll blend those colors, and I don't want to blend them. I just want to model them on like that. Go back and touch some of this red. We'll push that red as that shadow note there. There like that. Maybe make that little edge. Pick up that edge color there. Let's make a idea of a petal or two back inside there. Like that. Some extra petals in there. Like that. A few little colors. A few extra little notes of color here. Out like that. Now the outside ones there, you can flip them over to light, or you can use them with the dark. And I'll use a variety. So maybe, down over here towards this side here where I'll have this, I might use a light color out here. And maybe over here towards the back, because it's going against a lighter background, I'll use the darker, the red violet, or quinacridone violet here, to help define my petal edge and pull in that way. And just because that gives me a nice variation to the flower. Let's grab some of that red. Let's make a little reddish color note here at the tip of this one. As that comes around. Maybe right down into the light right down here. As that pulls in. Here, we'll get that lighter color there. And we'll pull that out. And a little bit more color. Just want to model some of that color up like that. Get some of that nice reds here. Those darker tones into that shadow there. And I'll just make just a tone right between the two, and just drag a little bit there, and that works pretty well. Let's grab some more of our red, our quinacridone, and our red, our Napsol Red Light. Let's make a deeper reddish tone right down here, maybe a nice edge here, and we'll go back to we'll restate some of our light here in just a minute. I like that red. I like that red, so let's just make a nice tone of that back in here as well. I'm just working this area several times, and what the goal here is to do exactly that. You're working these colors, but you're bringing these shapes kind of together, but you're working these different tones in here. And that working back and forth is what makes your flower really pretty. So it does take a little bit here of working it to get those beautiful colors and tones here. Let's get a little bit of that yellow there, maybe a bit of that red would play better there because it's against that lighter yellow of the inside of the flower. There. Yeah, that plays pretty nice. That tone. And we'll just drop that in. Let's just pull that back out. So I just love how your finger does it sometimes because it's not a stroke. You know, your finger just moves those tones right into the shapes that we want them to go. So there we go, just like that. Let's bring in some more light here. And let's round this part right here a bit more. And we can make this petal. Let's see if it looks like. And I don't know yet. I just got to try. Let's bend it in and out like this. And that makes the petal look like it bends. See, it's going to go and then back out again here. And then round over. And round over like that. So that might work. Or you can, and then you can take your shadow back up like this to place it right back there into its shadow. And we have some smaller petals. Now that flower's not done or anything, we have more to do, but we have some smaller petals. We'll just make a quick little statement here and there of a couple of smaller petals out here that are going to be part of the flower. Here, just a quick little bit there. Yeah, that's going to have to move over just a bit. It's a bit huge for that petal there. God, I like that bluish color coming through. This is the background coming through, and I like that coming through in there. Sometimes these little things happen, and you just go with it. So I'll just wipe down there until I see some of that background. That looks pretty nice. Let's try to keep it there. And we'll push that edge in like that and just leave a little bit of that background showing in there. That's pretty. And we'll push just a little bit of light there. We have the darker one here. Here, this nice darker one sitting up on top of that. A little cooler right in here. That all pulls in. That all pulls in like that. That little bit of red there, that works. Let's lighten up the front of this just a touch more. Right where that's going in. And then I want to, let me show you, one of the things that I'm doing when I'm building this and looking for the color movement is I've closed down the center of that rose. So I'm going to take my finger like this and take some of that out. And what this is going to do is open the flower back up. Now this happens a lot when you're working around the front bowl. This is something that does happen a lot. And we curve these petals out a bit. We like that. And so never be afraid to come back and restate and redo that again. Let's try to leave that blue light there. And let's just, yeah, that's better. Here like that. Because you can very easily close down your center like that. And I just did it a little bit more. So I'm just going to open that back up a bit more there. I like it a bit more open, that flower a bit more open. Now, let's keep that. And maybe reduce this side here. We'll push one more smaller petal here so that it's coming to the inside of that flower. And let's just take a little edge of the light here. Let's push that front of that flower in like that. Now I like little strokes like that have a lot of power and the light, and I try not to get rid of all those little streaks because those just add lots of fun interest to the flower. Let's close this side off here with a few of that little curving stroke that we did. And this one was lifting out, which I like. So let's lift that light color out a bit more here, right out of that center, like that. Maybe even that little edge right there. And lift that out right there. Out. Let's lift out a little light right over here and right in here like this. Like this is light hitting on the inside of the flower here. Coming right up there like that. There. Maybe just a little corner of that light to hit the edges of those light petals there. That's nice. So you can see you can play these things and shape them all different kinds of ways. Let's put a little bit of light. Maybe that's right on the corner there like that, and I'll just lean the brush over. This makes those nice petal edges that I talk about in the series. How I make those petal edges. Let's build that a little bit more. Boom. Maybe then just take out the shadow, lift it out like that. Okay, that's good. And let's put this light right up on the front here of this one, coming right down in there. And we'll round this back out. That's a nice rounding petal there. There, that petal rounds right up there like that. Maybe a bit of an edge to that one. There. That's nice. So we got some different colors coming on that one. Here, let's get that edge back here. Let's get some smaller petals coming back down into our center here. As they're coming down, right down into our center. Close up our center, maybe even some of our reds. We'll get into some of that reds and almost like a lighter pink. We'll change that color over a bit as we get right down into that center here. And just use this. You just make small little touches. Think of petals kind of folding over and around in here because they're the young petals. They're not opened up yet. They're like that. So that gets that. Now I'll just come back. I always want to make sure that I feel that where that bowl is on that particular flower. I have a good feeling for it. I always will take that dark and see where that bowl is, where that's coming out here. And we'll just bring those together like that a bit. Here. That's good. We'll edge one or two more little petals right here. That'll just a soft little indication that something's there. All those beautiful ones I pulled out kind of disappeared here, so I want to pull out with a little bit of light. That's kind of fun. There we go. So a little more complicated of a flower, of a rose there, but we got that one in. Let's go over, and now these other ones will go quicker and easier because there's not too much to them. We'll put just a soft light to the front here of a soft orange, maybe coming around this side here, and we'll leave just the impression. We've got the main flower done now, so from now on we want to paint with just impressions of soft grade colors, a little bit of that blue in there. Oh, and that's the other thing I was going to do. I was going to hit a little bit of that blue into this color of this flower here, which just look at what it does here. Just a little bit of that blue coming in and through here. That's wonderful. Coming into that flower there. That's nice. Makes it look like you know what you're doing. Yeah, we'll get a little bit of light there. Actually, let's step that back. You can do light or shadow, and they're both okay. Let's just step that back like that. That looks good. A little bit of that blue in there is very different. Now, let's go back to our yellows and our lights and graying it with just a little bit of the blue. We'll come back in here, give a little movement back here to this flower. Take a little bit of our soft quinacridone, maybe gray it just a bit, and we'll, with the softer grayed red, just paint this little touches here of this coming underneath. Now, on the shadow side, now we can pull out some of the light and give that light look like we did onto the others, but we've got to make sure it stays softer. So maybe take your finger in and out a couple times like this. Don't forget to wipe your finger, clean that off as you pull back and forth. See, I can put a gentle feeling of that light rolling there. Let's take some of our orange with our yellow oxide because it's softer, a little bit of blue in there just to tone that down. We'll lighten it up with a little bit of white. So you're thinking a little toned, a little more red into that. You're thinking a little more toned because you're into the back flower here. Okay, we'll add a and all I'm looking for here is just movement in and out of the flower. That's all. It's just some movement of tones and colors. We'll take some of our softer orange here and make like the little petal edges of that rose. Maybe right here where it's going to go right underneath that other rose. We'll put a brighter one right here, and that will push this one right up on top, right there like that. So it goes right up on top. Boom, right there. Right up on top. Here. There we go. And pull some of that light blue out just to soften that just a touch. Maybe a bit out here. Just to soften. So you just don't want that real super dark contrast. But just a little bit on that edge there is nice. And then that soft orange, let's come around. Even model in a little bit of our quinacridone into that. Just model that around. Okay, and we'll model these shapes around. Always working into the round and around here. There's a flower petal there. You can pull back like this and really fracture the edges of those petals there so it stays way into the back, soft like that. I love to do that. Just take my finger and drag it through there and just break up and soften that flower so it goes to the back. That really, really works well. Grab little bits of that dark there. So that one sits way behind this one. Here, and we'll just move some of these colors around so we get some nice movement into that. But we don't have to build as many petals and stuff onto this one as we do the front one because it's not our center of interest. But we do have to have a bit of movement here that says that they're pretty close to the same flowers here. So now I'm going to push some of this red out like that, just soften those edges a bit. Let's open up that center just a bit more here and around. And see, it just takes a little curving motion of that brush to really say it's a rose, see? It comes around like that, just those little curving motions. And especially if you find where that bowl is, you pull that bowl out like that. And we might want to have a little bit of that brighter touch of red to see a bit of that in there as well. Now this back one here, let's come in and let's take some of our burnt sienna and our green here. Burnt sienna and green right into some of our violets, nice darker color. Let's put in the curved stem here. That is this back one here. Okay, let me step back just a bit so you get a better feel for that, these flowers and the colors. Let's drop this stem in here like this. This is this stem. Maybe there's another one coming there and this one coming down through and around. I'll use just a chisel of the brush here and give some little movements to it, like there's little thorns or so here, just extra little movements. Let's add some more green to that and come in here and push a little bit of that green in, and a little bit more color. We'll push some of that in here, like this is going to be the calyx area though. And these are like the little rose sepals, the smaller little leaves that come out of this one here. And we just want to make an indication of it. I don't want to paint them specifically because this is just a casual little pushed back rose here. Okay, so let's push that in, and then we'll just come out with some nice orange color here, like this, right in the center, just to say this is a bigger petals here. A bit of the light color here to this one here and out. You can even put a little light edge around here, like that's a petal here. Maybe there's one right here. There's a petal there that you can see the edge of that petal here. Little touches of it into the back here, like this rose. You know, it does continue out and around. So let's take some of that green into some of this quinacridone, which will tone it down, and add just a touch here and there, some tips, some tip colors to this rose here. Tipped petals. They'll build up a little bit more, like it's, you know, it's got to get almost like a half round here, because rose is turned and these petals are higher, so they'll get just a bit, and we can just soften their edges like that. So you see just a bit of it though. Some light color right here like that, coming right out of this calyx here. Maybe a bit of that. That's a bit heavy there, so you can just paint it out, lift it out like that. Use your finger too. Okay, and that's good. We'll get a few more little like calyx here, or sepals there, right into that. That's good. We'll push those together here. That's good. Now let's take some of this green here, and we need to make some accent leaves and stuff out here, and do some negative painting. Like maybe I'll take some of this down and make the idea of like there's petals and leaves and stuff coming down here to the bottom side, and this also does a little bit of negative painting or petal edge painting here. Like we could use that right in here to round part of that rose right there. We'll push those together to make that edge more soft, like that. Okay, let's take some of this nice toned, and we could a little sky color into that would be pretty as well, because it'll soften that out here. Find it right up here. Find a beautiful green that you want to use. A little bit of that quinacridone to soften it. Some of that sky color, and we'll put the shape of these leaves in right here, and that's a pretty color. Now then what I like to do is this, put those on, and then I'll just drag my finger through that side, and that almost makes the light side of that leaf here. Just drag a little bit through, and it makes it more casual here. So let's come out to this one here, out like that. That one goes out and around there. Let's just drag through that edge on that one. There. Now you can put in highlights and shadows on that as well. I don't always do that, but you certainly can. Let's just put that on. Wipe your finger a bit, start in the blue, and drag right through to the light. Right through to the light. And that just, I got a little dirty finger there, so let's drag that out like that. It just makes that lost edge of that, which is really pretty. I really enjoy those. Let's put a little bit of green with some sky color into it back here, like this is going to be the calyx of this one. There we go. And let's take some of that soft green, add an extra little touch of it up here. Anywhere in through here, you can use a soft green, or you can go a little darker. This is the softer green. Putting that green right here in that quinacridone works really well. Then adding those blues and those background colors here just makes some real soft, pretty greens, and it's varying their tones. I like that. I can drop down to more burnt sienna tones here as well. I want to, which I do on some of these. Like I love a little bit of that burnt sienna and some of that, and just little tones of that, and especially like in. That's real pretty, like right in the back side of a flower back here as well. Just a little bit of that toned orange, just an edge of it there. Don't have to have much, just a little bit of it here. And we'll come out here with some little sparks of little stems, like that's stems there on the rosebud here. Maybe it's got a leaf or so right up here in front of it, and a little septal leaf or something right out here on the base of that. here. There we go. And we'll take a little bit of our orange and draw right down through that. Just kind of shape up that bud there a bit. Maybe a little bit lighter right here. Just to put a little bit of our light color in here onto that bud. Here, lightening up that. Maybe a bit of light right up here at the top, turning over it. And some orange or some other little tones into it. You can have a little bit of your red and quinacridone here for the tips of it, like the tips of the petals there on that bud, like that. Let's just push a little bit right in here, like that's coming in there. That's pretty. Maybe we'll drop that right into that right there. Now that looks like a little bud. There. It's always, if you want it to really look round, you always get a little bit of that light right there in that center part of that, and that will round up that really nice. Let's grab some of that light and push that right back in here, just right on the edge like this, and pull that through, and that will build this edge of this rose back up. Let's push up. I can add an edge of a second petal here, like that. And just a little touch of that around here, just to say we did it. And a little bit of this around to the center again. I always go back and re-look and revisit my center of interest, just to make sure I have the right tone, that the viewer can clearly see that bowl, because that's what really turns it into a rose, is that bowl there, so that you really see where that bowl line is. That's extremely important here, like that. That's good. And then once I have that, I'll go back and maybe revisit a few of my leaves. Let's add a couple of other little tones here to them. Some of my burnt sienna tone. How much I want to do in here is kind of your call. But one of the things I've been doing lately too is let's take a little bit of our blue here, a little bit of that violet-y color with that. It's not quite as light. And let's just for a moment strike this down and through here. Now, this is something I've started to do, which opens up and lightens up my compositions quite a bit. And yes, I went right through that stem, and guess what? I'll go put that back on. You know, that's the thing that you got to do, is don't paint around stuff. Paint through it. You put it on once, you can go back and do it again. And I don't even worry about putting it on the second time exactly the same. That's what gives it the artistic, lost little edges and looks. So don't worry about that, okay? So we'll push this little light like this through there, and that's really kind of pretty. Maybe we'll just pull that out there a bit. It just sets some of that light right through the painting there. I like that. We'll push a little bit of that light right in here, maybe coming right back behind this flower right there. Boom, there it is, see? There's that light. Boom, here it is coming in here. It's very different, that little bit of light right there in that center. Let's pull and streak that out a bit here. Maybe get a little bit of that red right here, the bottom side of that flower there. Some of that edges and petals there. That's nice. Now we can take some of that out, just a bit here and there with some of our green. But just tap through just a bit, like there's some greens and stuff coming through there. But see, that's that light. That's the light of the blue of the front of the painting here coming into this part of the painting. And this is what I've started to do a lot here in this last year that I really like. I use even some negative painting techniques there with that light coming through. And you see that blue coming right in here. Look how pretty that is. And let's even put a nice little dose of light right in there. You see how pretty that is? Let's to find that edge just a bit more right there where we had that little touch of burnt sienna that plays beautiful against that blue there and that light. That works really nice. I might take some of that light, put a little green with that here, and just pull that down just a bit here. Maybe through it and across the touch here. So I'm not afraid to paint that light. I'm not afraid to just go try touching it someplace and painting that out there, because that's what gives you your beautiful look and interest to it. Now, we can, tap around here like this. This will put some green leaves and stuff up in front of that light just a bit and push some of that to the back. So we'll add and change that up. Maybe you have a little bit of your red violet in it so it gets the colors change on it a bit. Maybe just a little touch here and there like that. And it becomes very, very pretty. And now I'll just take that pine green and my burnt sienna here, maybe a bit of that red violet to it, and let's just come back here, change this up. Maybe a bit of that that pine green and red violet makes such a beautiful dark color, dark brownish tone. And I'll use the corner of my little brush here, the corner of my flat here. We'll just drive that and make some darker notes, darker color notes down through here. Some other stuff going on here. None of the stems get perfect or anything like that. Give them a certain amount of width so they have some power to it. Make some color touches there like that. Maybe some green into that and just a few little touches of the green coming out here. Back just a bit here, just a touch or two of those coming through, breaking up, adding some more color and tone. Boy, I sure do like that light. Boom, right in there. That really looks nice. That just adds that extra spark right there through that center. It takes a little bit of bravery though to get that in there. Here we go. Let's push this edge of this rose right there like that and like that. It's coming right up in front of that light. There's that nice light coming right into that painting, right into that center. Normally I put the dark in there and let that contrast, but that light is just a nice little touch in there. Now I'll take a little bit of this reds, we'll push that through, maybe just make a quick little color note of that out here, quick little color note of that out through here, so the viewer's eye sees some of those tones and colors. Let's take some of that lovely light right out here. And let's just work that light right in here one more time so that they pick up that really light color right out here. Right out there to the outside of this. Yeah. There we go. What a fun little painting it is to do that and evolve it a bit as you're looking at it, and just kind of watching the tones and the colors and evolving it there. Fun little painting. Fun. Let's just move that in and out a bit. I like those mottled backgrounds like that, and I like those little lights, and even a little bit more of this violet note here. A little bit of that violet into that would be a pretty tone right in there. See how that's nice and cool, but it picks up some of the color tone of the, and hopefully your monitor can see it, picks up some color tone here from the roses and stuff in there. Just grab a few of those notes there. There we go, like that. Let's grab a bit of that right up here. just a bit, not too much into that rosebud there. You can take your big brush and soften any of that movement. And sometimes I will just soften it a little here. I'll come back one last time with some very soft greens and set some of that movement back. So you see, even these little accents that are out here that I love to paint the accents. The accents are kind of my forte, what I really love to do. I will do them several times into a painting. And whereas before I used to touch them and then move out. Now I consider them really part of the painting as well, and I'll touch them several times during a painting to get that. Now we didn't use any of our Diox purple, but I promise on one of the next ones we'll do some more with some Diox purple. Don't worry, there'll be lots of them there with that. I was going to use it into the blues, but I ended up with that, just using that quinacridone, and that worked out pretty nice for us as well. So work the colors, make sure you get a certain amount of, there's a beauty in the painting when there's a certain amount of color. So even if you take some of your extra colors here and make some of these beautiful grays and go back in through and reset some of your areas that didn't have quite as much paint, like right down here I didn't have quite as much paint. So I'll come back, I'll work this, maybe push this light back in here again and work this color down and through. This is where your painting will get more interest. Some of you that want to, you worry about your paintings not having enough interest. Majority of that comes from not using enough paint. So coming in with the last of your palette colors like this and working it through your backgrounds and your bottom. Yes, you can put your stems in again. And putting on just some more color like this. Let's work this light, even a little bit of that orange into that, right down and through, and cross that out there a bit. And see, that just adds so much to your paintings there. See, that movement, that extra, boom, here it is. It just adds that extra little bit here to your painting. And that a weak background, you got to look at it this way. Backgrounds are, well, they're 100% of it's covered up. So you're really showing maybe about 40%, 40 to almost half of the painting will still be in background. So if your background has a lot of movement and stuff to it, that's when they get really pleasing and fun and interesting, because they're already occupying so much of the space of the painting. So let's just pull that down a little bit more and just pull through. Matter of fact, I just got a real brave thing, so let's get real brave here. Take some of that purpley blue, really get that light color here. We'll tone that down just a bit with some of the orange here, maybe just a bit more blue, some of that orange. Let's get really, really brave with that color coming through that part of the painting there, see? Isn't that pretty? Right through that. And this is some of the stuff you can go in with all the pre-made plans in the world, and then I listen to what's happening into the painting here and just kind of go with it there. Yeah, that works. Now guess what? Put the stems back on again. But see, I don't worry about that, and that's what makes that. You got all this stuff here. So now you have like a back stem, and if I don't hit that exactly, that's okay. I don't, because this is casual painting. So I'll just drop some idea of that stem just to fine that up a bit more there, and maybe hit the edge of that with, like, there's something there. Sometimes I'll just cross across it a little bit. I'll take the corners of my brush now and just drag a real casual one down. That's got to have a little bit more weight to it because it's supporting a big rose, but maybe some of these things are just coming down like that, and you get some of these nice stems back in there. Now you look, they got lost edges and found edges and lots of stuff going on, and it's really, really nice here. We'll get some maybe a bit more of a green leaf or so coming here, and just let that be lost there. Let's push the leaf out here, maybe a little bit more found Maybe there's a little more found one right there and right here. Here, right there. So we have them coming up on both sides. There. Maybe a little bit more found right here. Coming off to that side. And an extra little touch or so of some stuff going on there. Now you have, now when you look at this, let's step back a little bit more. Okay. Now when you look at that, see, now you've got all of this lovely interest. Might want to add a little bit more contrasty dark up into a few areas. Make sure that they join together with like a little stem. Some little touches of little whispers, corners of the brushes. I like to do that around that. This lightens up the painting. Makes a very, very nice painting. This way, and it's very, very fun. And we get it right in about an hour here to do that. So that's good. We'll just put a little edge, a little septal here. There to finish that one off. And I think that's what we'll do. We'll just call that one right here like that. Fun little painting. Thanks for joining me. Okay, work those things, work those colors and work it and back and forth. You can see just how much I go back and forth in a painting when I'm developing something, and I don't really quite know where I'm going to go with it. But boy, isn't that light cool? That light is just really nice. It just pops right in there, okay? And there you got it, okay? I'll see you on the next videos, okay? Till then, you have a great painting day. As always, if you ever have any kind of questions or anything like that, just drop me an email. All of our contact information over on the JansonArtStore.com. You can look for us over there. And there's even a little contact form. Just go right there where you get all your supplies, and that's where you can find all the information that you need. And if you have questions, I can answer it to you right from there, okay? See you over on the next lessons. Bye-bye.